All righty, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining today's Partner Solutions session titled Accrisoft Freedom Total Software Solutions for Chambers. Before we get started this afternoon, I'd like to cover a few quick housekeeping items. First of all, this is an express session lasting about 20 minutes with about 5 to 10 minutes on the back end for Q&A. All attendees will be muted for the duration of this session. Please use the chat if you have any comments or questions for our speakers. As I stated, we will use the last 5 minutes for Q&A, and we will take as many questions as we have time for. If we don't get to any questions, we encourage you to visit the Accrisoft booth to tie those up. This session is being recorded and will be available tomorrow on the event site, so please feel free to share with your colleagues who may not have been able to attend. Without further ado, I will hand things over to our partner, Jeff Klein, President and CEO of Accrisoft, to get today's presentation started. Jeff?
Thank you, Ellie, for the introduction, and welcome to all of the attendees. I'd like to welcome you to today's presentation featuring the Wichita Chamber of Commerce and Accrisoft Corporation. With me today is Rebecca Saxton, who's the Director of Data Operations for the Chamber. The Wichita Regional Chamber of Commerce is a mid-sized chamber, and we have been partnered together for 3 years. And today's presentation is just going to be more of a fireside chat between myself and Rebecca. And so with that, I'd like to just open up, and Rebecca, tell us a little bit about the Wichita Regional Chamber.
Yeah, well, first off, Jeff, I just want to say thank you for partnering with us on this presentation today. We really appreciate it, and it's been great to attend some of the other sessions that ACCE is hosting. But yeah, a little bit about the Wichita Chamber. We just celebrated our centennial a few years ago in 2017. And we have over 1,400 members, around 20 staff members. And the Wichita Chamber's purpose is success for our members, leadership for our community, and prosperity for our region. So a lot of what we'll talk about later kind of all goes down to that kind of baseline for us.
Very good. And what about the strategic goals for the Chamber?
Yeah, so I mentioned our purpose statement just shortly, but we have 6 strategic goals that kind of fall under that. And all of our work that we do as a chamber points to one of these strategic goals. So we have position the chamber as the hub for small business, accelerate the engagement of talent in the region, inform people, policies, and practices that strengthen access and opportunity, increase engagement in Pride in Place efforts, expand the Chamber's influence at all levels of government, and maintain financial integrity and achieve long-term sustainability and business continuity are the 6 strategic goals that we focus on as a chamber here.
Very good. And how is the Accrisoft Freedom software assisting you in the accomplishment of these strategic goals?
That's a great question. We have such a variety of key performance indicators, KPIs, and metrics that we track. But one thing that I'd like to mention off the bat is that having Accrisoft as a total software solution, kind of housing a whole bunch of different realms under one big umbrella has been super helpful for us. So we're able to manage our email marketing, our website, our membership database, and our event management all under one roof. And all of those components kind of talk to each other. So we're able to streamline some staff work in some ways that we wouldn't be able to if we had all of that information in separate places or separate spreadsheets. And we're able to do things like track our members' interactions with us on a different level. So if a member has an employee that's on one of our committees, or if they attend an event, that's all getting captured in Accrisoft Freedom for us, and we're able to kind of use that information to better interact with our members and kind of target our next steps as a chamber for serving them.
And you did a presentation on data-driven decisions. Tell us a little bit about that presentation that you did earlier.
Yeah, definitely. So in the on-demand section of ACCE's Chamber Innovation Summit that's going on, you can go and view that webinar. I got to talk to Joe from Accrisoft and Patty from the Tampa Bay Chamber about, Joe shared some really good insight on business information and making data-driven decisions. And we go a little bit more in depth on some of the key metrics that we track at the Wichita Chamber and at the Tampa Bay Chamber. But one of the examples that I'd like to give here that I didn't go as in depth on in that presentation is the tracking of demographic information. We have been capturing a lot of that demographic information on our chamber businesses for a while, but it's mostly been anecdotal, but we've really built out a way in our database to track that a little bit better, starting to build out some dashboards for quick visual reports on that information. And really, we're trying to think through some of the different ways that we can capture that information. One of those ways is through our partnership with our Young Professionals affiliate, W. They capture some of that information from their members, and we're able to see that all under one roof because we house our membership database and theirs all within Accrisoft Freedom together. So that's something that's been hugely beneficial for us.
Wonderful. And what characteristics does the chamber look for in a technology partner, and how has Accrisoft measured up to these characteristics?
Yeah. One of the things that is really important to us as a chamber is Accrisoft's ability to grow alongside us as an organization, to take on new projects and kind of give us solutions for our next steps that we see. And that's something that I've heard from my coworkers, our chamber staff repeatedly, is that, you know, we've worked with other companies in the past who have not been super flexible or responsive when we have a new need that comes up as a chamber, and that is not at all the case with Accrisoft. Accrisoft's been really great in being flexible and growing and innovating. And one component of that is the fact that y'all have been working behind the scenes on so many things that impact us that we might not even think about, as far as making sure that we're using the most up-to-date technology on the back end.
Well, thank you. And we know that one of the most important elements to a successful relationship with a technology partner is your experience with customer support. That, I believe, is the real tell-all with technology and partners. How has your experience been with Accrisoft's customer support team?
This, Jeff, is where I could probably rant and rave, and you have heard it before and will hear it again, but I have built, I feel, a relationship with Accrisoft's support team, and I feel like I'm not nameless. I am definitely putting in a ticket, and they know who I am when I submit a ticket, and it's really more of a relationship. So definitely professional and courteous, but also personable. Like it's very much, I know who I'm submitting a ticket to, and they know who I am, and are willing to, you know, ask the questions to get to the bottom of whatever's going on. Always looking to provide that next level of service, which we appreciate.
Well, thank you. And I see that we have a question from Bill Cloyd. And Bill asks, what software did the Wichita Chamber use prior to working with Accrisoft?
Yeah, this was actually prior to my working at the chamber, but I know that we have worked with a variety of different softwares in the past. Most recently, we were using WebLink before we transitioned to Accrisoft about 3 years ago.
And Bill, if you have any follow-on questions, please ask them. But just continuing as the questions continue to come in, what experiences would you share with other chambers? Your role as the Director of Technology, Data Operations, what would you share with other chambers?
You know, at this point, I'd really like to toss out a question for anybody attending because it's something that, you know, I'm not always great at stopping in the moment and asking myself this question, but really take some time and sit and think about what information would be beneficial for your chamber so that you can continue to serve your members the best. That's something that we've really kind of focused in on, is trying to capture all of those key metrics that push us towards achieving our strategic goals, but try to think about them in a different way. We go a little bit more into this during our data-driven decisions webinar that you can find in the on-demand, and really great discussion around that. But take time to think and evaluate your data. Think about the ways that you can pull reports that will either free up staff time so that you can better serve your members or let you get to know your members better.
And I think it's pretty well known in the chamber community that the Wichita Regional Chamber is one of the most progressive mid-sized chambers in the industry today. And I think it's interesting that they hired you as the Director of Data Operations. And I really see that as what is now being named Chamber 3.0, which the Chamber 1.0, I think, was the very traditional chamber with the file cabinets and very much attending to business, people walking in off the street just wanting to know about the business community. Chamber 2.0 was more where the chamber started to upgrade to computers using specific software. But now we're at that Chamber 3.0, where everything now is being data-driven. And in terms of data-driven decisions, can you point to any specific examples where the data that you're collecting is really driving your decision-making?
Yeah, so one of the areas that we talk about a little bit in that on-demand webinar that I can highlight here is some of our efforts for small business. We know as a chamber that the majority of our members are small businesses as far as quantity. And so trying to provide services to meet their needs is really important. And so here I can show you my screen and share just a little bit of one of the resources that we rolled out in the last year to try to meet some of the needs that these small businesses have. And
we are seeing your screen.
Perfect. So this small business resource page is something that is new for us. We've rolled it out in the last year, and it enables us to capture a variety of different resources and tools for our small businesses so that they can have kind of one landing place to go back. And one thing that is Accrisoft specific that we really appreciate is this chamber video library. We have the ability, because we use that total software solution all under one roof, to kind of lock down some of our website content based on membership status. And so this is a benefit that we're able to offer to our members. And it is a members only video library where some of the programming that we've rolled out in the last couple of years, we can make available on demand to those members. And it is a benefit of membership. So that is something that, you know, we see the need for programming and resources for our small businesses. And this is just one way that we've responded to that.
Very good. And Lori Carter had a question, and she was curious about the implementation time for the conversion.
Yeah, and I'm sure this varies greatly from chamber to chamber and what your needs are. We had conversations for a number of months leading up to the actual implementation. I know that we had about 3 or 4 months of overlap when we were converting from one system to another. And we added an additional complication of onboarding a new accounting system during the same time frame. So a lot of those factors will vary, but we, I think, kind of ran dual systems a little bit for a period of time while we were making sure all of the data converted as we expected. But we can answer some more specific questions if you have some one-on-one questions, Lori. I'll get you answers. I was not actually present at the chamber during our transition period. I have some really good notes, but I know for a fact that we had some really key important conversations with Accrisoft at the Mako conference that allowed us to push that conversation forward and really develop a relationship with them, which is really meaningful because that was really a back and forth of them discovering what our needs are and us figuring out the best practices for working within Accrisoft Freedom. So that ongoing relationship that really started at that point and has continued to flourish has been really critical for us.
And what I would add to that, Rebecca, because I was intimately involved with the migration, what made the relationship work so well was the level of participation from the Wichita Regional Chamber, in which your entire team was really engaged. When it came to data reconciliation, your team was just as good as it could get in terms of making sure the data was very consistent between WebLink and Accrisoft. And the reason I believe that we had such success with the implementation of Accrisoft Freedom within the Wichita Regional Chamber was the level of participation, the tech savviness of your team, and the way in which you reconciled the data and you were in front of the data the whole time.
Yeah, thank you, Jeff.
Well, thank you. It has been just delightful working with the chamber. Let's talk about some of the recent projects. So we know that the internet is the fastest moving industry ever known to mankind. We know that when you're in the technology business, you have to go to sleep with your clothes on. And for chambers to remain relevant, it is absolutely critical that they stay on the forefront of technology. And part of that is not this notion of, well, we'll migrate to a new database, CRM, website, mobile app, etc., and then we're good for 3 to 4 years. I think that some chambers believe that, but if you really want to be progressive, if you really want to stay relevant in your community, you need to have ongoing initiatives like the key components, your strategic initiatives that you have going. Tell us about some of the recent projects that you've orchestrated with Accrisoft to make sure that you're serving your members to the best possible ability that you can.
Well, I know we've got about 1 minute left, so I'll keep it short and brief. And then if anybody wants to touch base with me after, I'd be glad to talk through some of that. And I know that, Jeff, you're available at your booth as well. So one of the things that we're working on consistently is rolling out new benefits like that chamber video library. We are also working on a number of things in that members only portal. So we've got a lot of projects in the works, and we appreciate so much the opportunity to work on those and move our organization forward along with Accrisoft.
And just a closing thought, Ellie, and I'll turn it back to you. I know I'm getting the hook right now, but I believe very strongly that technology is just a mechanism that gets the chambers to where they want to be. But where the real success comes from is in the partnership between the chamber and the technology partner. And that's what we are very committed to, is a long-term partnership. And it's why you didn't see a lot of screenshots during this presentation, because it all comes down to the human relationships that are built. And I thank the Wichita Chamber for just the ongoing partnership that we have. And I also thank ACCE for our longstanding partnership, because that's what it really comes down to. So thank you to everyone.
Thank you, Jeff.
Finalize. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff, and thank you, Rebecca, as well, for sharing your time and experience with all of us this afternoon. Thank you to our attendees for joining us. And again, this session was recorded and will be available on the event site tomorrow. Please visit Accrisoft's virtual booth to continue this conversation. You can find their page under the Sponsors and Exhibitors tab on the left-hand side of the event platform. We hope to see you on our speed meet and greet session in just a few short minutes. Thanks again.